Welcome listeners to episode 33 of the Running Guide podcast, where I aim to provide informative content and interviews with elite athletes and health professionals around the world, like in today's episode, where I'm chatting to a Kiwi, now based in Sydney, who has run some very solid performances on the track and the road over the last few months, and is looking towards running his first marathon on the Gold Coast this July. Welcome to the Running Guide podcast, Sam Hopper. How you going,
G'day,
Hopper?
Aston. Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, I've been looking forward to it, mate. Seen you've been out for your Sunday long run. How'd that go?
Yeah, no, it was good. Woke up. I actually was feeling quite run down this week, so I was surprised I didn't snooze my alarm like I have for the rest of the week. But got out reasonably early, just before 6, and got out for 2 hours 20 and did pretty much an hour 40, just like 4:04 pace, and then did a bit of a workout, like a long pyramid in the last 40 minutes. So feeling pretty good, actually. I've never had 3 gels in a long run, so I'm trying to like muck around with a bit of nutrition before the Gold Coast, and I felt pretty good actually at the end of it. Covered about 36k. So
100-mile week. That would be a solid week for you.
So it's quite a big week at work as well. So I work in a running shoe store in Sydney called Pace Athletics. So it's a lot of standing around in retail. So it's not the best recovery, but it's certainly the best job I've ever had. And my bosses are pretty unreal with employing a bunch of athletes. So, I'm buying shoes is in good hands. So it's good fun.
That's normal work hours, like Monday to Saturday?
Tuesday to Saturday. I have Sunday and Monday off. So
awesome. And you sort of work your training around having that Monday off?
100%. Especially on Sundays. I like to do my long run. Well, I could have slept in a bit, but I like to get it done when I know it's going to be a bit hotter, just a bit earlier. So and it's good having a day off afterwards.
And you're with the run crew up there with Benny Saints' squad?
Benny Saints been looking after me for a couple of years now, which is good.
Okay.
So, got some solid results.
So your group run today was with some of the boys or on your own? Or?
I pretty much do all of my training alone, majorly because of my work hours. Rather than trying to tee up runs. So some of my Tuesday sessions I'll go to the athletics track with the crew, but trying to get to work on a Saturday morning when everyone does their other workout of the week, I generally just do solo sessions on a Friday just to get it done a bit earlier.
And what part of Sydney are you in?
I'm in Greenwich, so I'm actually very close to quite a well-known oval called Gore Hill Oval. So quite a few runners in Sydney do sessions up there.
Is it the one that has that stone bridge up above it? No, not North Bridge, is it?
No, that's I forget the name of that.
Okay.
But very close. Only a couple of K away from that. Tunks Park, that's it. Tunks Park. That's also a well-known park for people to do workouts at.
And with the running stuff, working in the running store, is that a new position for you? Have you been involved in retail before?
No, this is my first retail job. So when I first moved over to Australia, which was in about May, I was about 8th of May 2018. So I moved in and I was flatting with Benny Saint in Lavender Bay, just over by Luna Park, by the Harbour Bridge.
Sure.
And I actually went to the UTA, or the Ultra Trail Australia Taper Night, which was held at a brewery. And Ben was one of the guest speakers. They had like a Q&A panel. I think there was David Byrne and Lucy Bartholomew and a few other elite athletes that anyone signing up for the races could ask questions and have a beer and things like that. And Benny took me along there, and I was having a beer with these 2 guys that I later found out had a running shoe store. And at the time I was pretty much just walking around the suburb where I moved into, just with my CVs or my resumes, trying to find work, because I just booked the flight across because Benny had messaged me. I was in contact doing run crew programs by correspondence, and he's like, wow, our flatmates moved out. So I ended up over here living with a dual Olympian, which was pretty awesome. And I ended up having a beer with these 2 guys that own a store, and the next day went in for an interview and started working at Pace Athletic, and I've been there pretty much ever since.
Unreal. All right, well, let's go back. So what were you doing over in New Zealand as far as you're running?
So in my final 2 years of high school, that's when I first started dabbling in a bit of running. So when I say dabbling in a bit of running, when I grew up, my dad was quite a good distance running coach, and I never actually got coached by him. So he coached an athlete called Duncan Ross from my hometown in Wanganui, which is quite famous
Certainly is.
for Peter Snell breaking the 4-minute mile world record there at Cook's
Yeah.
Gardens.
Yeah.
So yeah, Duncan Ross, he ran sub 29, I think, at Zatopek one year, maybe 1996, I think. So he was like top 10 placing there. So yeah, Dad was a pretty good running coach, but I was playing soccer and rugby and softball and all the usual sports that you play as a young fella. And then unfortunately my dad passed away when I was 16 from cancer, and I think I kind of got into running as a way to remember him.
Sure.
And
Okay.
yeah, and then I started running on the school track team as a steeplechaser, and I just had this like fascination with doing steeplechase. And a boy that had been coached by my dad had just returned from uni, and he was doing I think it was like his placement for dentistry in Wanganui, and he hit me up and said, "Hey mate, do you want to go for a run?" And I was like, "Oh yeah," kind of like not very motivated, and I ended up meeting up for a run with him, and then he's like, "Oh, I reckon you could do all right at steeplechase." And his name is Gareth Bennick, and he was actually a New Zealand junior rep for steeplechase. I think he raced in Australia as at a few Australian champs for like New Zealand, and yeah, he ended up coaching me for a couple of years while I was at school, just in my final 2 years. And I went to secondary school nationals, did steeplechase, did a couple of cross country nationals, and I was always like a bit of a battler. I was near like the second half of the field, like I was near 100th place, and never really did very well in any of the secondary school champs. But I loved the sport, and I loved getting out, and I admired like seeing all the top guys at school. Like I was running a lot with like Geordie Beamish in Wanganui, who's now running for the running team, and Matt Baxter would run against our school in just local races. So now it's pretty cool to like know that some of those guys went on to NCAA champ like titles and then professional teams. So it's cool. It's I wouldn't say motivating, because I know I'm realistic with my talent level. They'll never get to like an elite level, but maybe even some sub-elite times would be cool. And even those guys might look back and be like, "Oh, Hopper, you've got like an all right time, better than when you're running at school." So, yeah. And then I went to university in Dunedin, so in the South Island, at Otago University, and jogged a bit down there. I never really did any programs or set coaching or anything, so I was just jumping in the odd half marathon. Did my first half marathon in Dunedin, and then went to Christchurch and ran another one not too late after that one. So I was there for 4 years. And
what did you study at university?
Physical education. So
okay. Yep.
I think from what I've gathered, it's the equivalent of like a exercise science or exercise physiology degree in Australia. Yeah.
Right.
So I can't actually teach, even though it's called physical education.
Yeah, right.
But then, I didn't do any further study after that. I moved to Queenstown for 2 summers doing some seasonal work as a hiking guide, which was actually, this is where my eventual interest in moving to Australia occurred. So I was doing this hiking job on the Routeburn and the Milford tracks for a company called Ultimate Hikes, and it was so much fun. So we'd stay in Queenstown on our days off, and then we'd be out on the track for anywhere from 3 days, 5 days, 9 days, and you're just pretty much hiking with people that have always wanted to do these trips, potentially not able to do it by themselves, and they're just like excited to be there. And it's only 6 months, so you bank up heaps of savings doing this awesome job, and then you've got 6 months in between seasons that you can either do like a winter season, or as in like a
lifty or something.
Yeah, lifty or ski instructing, which a lot of people stick around and do. But I went traveling for a bit and then went back for a second season. And I actually I actually I got off track one day and went to the local sort of outdoors store. And I think I was just buying something like a buff, like for my head, just because I'd lost mine on one of the trips. And I saw that they had this sign up for this running race the next day. And I'd never ever done a trail race before. And it was this, I think it's called the Shot Over Moonlight half marathon or marathon. And it's quite a well-known trail race in New Zealand from what I've gathered. And I was like, oh, I've got the day off tomorrow. Might as well sign up for this half marathon. I think I can probably cover 20K all right, or 21K. And I signed up, went out to this race. Can't remember what the name of the lake's called, where it was. Anyway, ended up coming second in this race. And I just pipped my boss, one of the hiking bosses, who came third. And the guy in first was Mile Backhausen. I think that's, hey, forgive me if I've mispronounced his name, but he's a Solomon runner, I believe. And I remember talking to him afterwards. And I think Lucy Bartholomew had just won the women's marathon, which is pretty awesome. Like the course goes along all these ridges and things. So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool. But I was talking to him afterwards and I said, mate, how do I like move to Australia and get into running a bit more? Like,
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the hiking, but I'm getting so unfit, like running once a week
Yeah.
or once a fortnight.
So what year is this now that we're talking?
This must have been 2017. Yeah, the
Okay.
year before I actually moved over.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but I just had this, I knew deep down that I could give running a better nudge than what I had in the past at school and uni. So, and I wanted to see what sort of times I could eventually do. So
Sure.
he pretty much said, mate, I've got some friends in Tasmania that have a running store and they do like run guided trips of like the overland track and things like that. So he gave me their contact, and being like a pretty typical uni student, being pretty lazy with contacting people, I just forgot about it. And I left the hiking job, and in between seasons I signed up for Run Crew, and I was getting coached by those guys. And yeah, eventually I was talking to Benny and said, hey mate, I'm pretty keen to move to Australia. So if you ever hear of any like jobs going or anything. And then literally like, it's probably like 6 months later, he messaged me out of the blue and he said, oh, hey Hopper, like I remember you mentioning you wanted to move to Australia. Our flatmates just moved out. So are you keen to fill a room? And I was like, I'll be there in May, which was like a couple of months later. So I'd actually booked a flight to Melbourne just to see my friends from uni. So I went and saw them for a week, and then a week later I was living in Sydney. So that's pretty much the long-winded version of how I ended up in Sydney. Yeah.
So you moved to Sydney, obviously hanging out with Benny and getting that job at the store. When did you start? I'm just trying to think when you start really developing yourself as a runner. And was that something you set a 1 or 2 year goal? And I'm just trying to see where you are now compared to where you were when you first came to Sydney.
Yeah. Well, I think like I remember my first couple of weeks living here. I went for a jog just around, I think it's Bull's Head, which is like a little nature reserve, some trails near Luna Park or in that sort of area of Sydney, just down from our flat. And I was running with Benny and we finished, and I was like, mate, my arms are so lactic. And I remember laughing with him about how like unfit I was, considering I'd just moved in with this John Olympian. But he's so down to earth, he's like, mate, it's fine. But then I was doing probably 30K a week, and then it's crazy to think in nearly 3 years now I'm doing like this one I did 36K in one morning. And it's I don't know, I just have enjoyed living each day by day, so I haven't really looked back or looked too forward, to be honest. But I remember just with Pace Athletic, the running store, I'd just go and do like fun Friday morning runs with a couple of the managers and my mates that work there, just around the Manly Dam loop, and just like got around all the fun runs that they do the run clubs that they have, and was just enjoying it. And I think I wasn't actually doing any Run Crew sessions for the first year. I was just trying to I was kind of embarrassed with how unfit I was, to be honest. And I was just trying to get fit enough to justify joining the group and not getting kind of embarrassed. Like, in any sort of group or going along to any group, not just run crew. But yeah, once I sort of got fit enough and did some park runs and some like half marathons like the Sydney Morning Herald and things like that, I started getting coached by run crew, and the depth in that group is insane. Like you can't help by getting fitter going to the sessions, because you've got like dual Olympians up the front, people like Kieran Toole and Tom DeCano there as well, and it's crazy. You just do like 9 by a K or whatever the session is, 800s, and I was like probably 20th or 30th in the last session. I like crossing reps just so far back the pecking order. But yeah, I don't know, you just get fit and fit and fit.
Yeah. So what sort of times were you doing in those half marathons when you like call it the Sydney Morning half marathon or whatever it was, or the park runs, just to get an idea?
Actually, the first day I moved to Australia, I did a park run around Albert Park in Melbourne, and I think my time was like 17 minutes something. And I remember standing at the start and I was like, oh, that's Dave Ridley. That's that like really quick New Zealand other ginger runner that's a marathoner, and I think he like works for Nike. And I remember seeing afterwards that he had smoked me in the park run, and then he'd continued on and done like some 30+ K workout. He just started his workout for a marathon with that park run.
Yeah, okay.
And then I think Blackmore's, I ran a PB maybe an hour 15, or maybe it was my first time going under hour 15, so it was an hour 14 something.
Yeah.
And then I actually had been to Tasmania for a fortnight and did the overland hike, came back and had obviously rested quite a bit just hiking around, not running. And I think I ran 72 minutes on the Sydney Morning Herald course, which I found to be like the hardest half marathon I've ever done, just because it's so hilly. But that was quite fun. And then I think just recently I've done like probably times that I'm a bit more like, I guess I can call myself a runner, a bit more of it like an athlete or along those lines.
No, you're moving quite well. I mean, they're quite some great times. You're quite tall as a runner, aren't you?
I wouldn't.
No, what's your height then?
About, in terms of centimeters, 174 centimeters.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah. It must be what, 5'11" or something, is it, or?
Yeah, maybe. I'm not too good with the conversion.
6 foot-ish is about 180, so something.
Okay, yeah. So a bit under that.
Maybe 184, but yeah, okay. Yep.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm reasonably short compared to some of the guys I race in Sydney.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, right, yeah. Let's talk about some of your PBs now. I sort of mentioned in the introduction, you've had some pretty solid times. I can only go off what World Athletics have down for you, and they're just the three of the most recent races you've done in the last. Yeah. So let's start with your 3,000 metre. We can chat about this. It's 8:42.75 at Sydney, and that was 21st of November last year, 2020. That's quite a good time.
I was pretty stoked with that, because that was the time that got me a IAAF or a World Athletics profile.
Yeah, okay.
And just amongst like some of the boys I train with, I was like the only one that didn't have a profile.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is I really love road racing, and I love long distance stuff.
Yeah.
So in terms of training, I really can't get up for the track sessions and the workouts, but the long runs I love doing a little faster than easy, but not super hard. So get rolling in those.
Yeah.
So I hope I'm destined for a good marathon or half.
Yeah.
But it's funny that a middle distance event is what actually got me the profile.
Yeah.
But I guess I went in not very nervous for that one, because I knew I was going to get pumped by all these fast guys. So I pretty much hung off the back of this group. And I think it might have been like the C race or something at the state champs, for New South Wales state champs. And I was like, one of my training mates, Zach Johnson, he's way faster than me. And he was in that group. So I knew as a gauge to be no way near him. And I just sort of ran, I think, reasonably even splits just off the back of that group. And then, kicked down. And I think my previous PBs were like 9:14, and then the year before this race, I'd done 8:56 at the same meet. And that was such a horrible way to run it. I think we went through in like 3 flat and then 3:06 or something, and then like at 2:51 or something like that. Yeah. So it was like a very big kick down at the end, which was not very nice for my legs. Yeah, I was pretty happy with 8:42. Hopefully I can lower that over the next few years, but
Sure. Yeah.
it's a good starter, I guess.
Yeah. How are the pins going absorbing the spikes? They're all good?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that was wearing the dragonflies.
Okay.
They were, I think the year before I wore some Saucony endorphin spikes, like one of the lightest pieces of footwear I've ever put on, and there's like nothing to them. And I majorly got them because they're fluoro orange, so they match my hair color.
Sure.
But yeah, the dragonflies, they just feel like they're so nice. They're just like a Vaporfly Next Percent, but for the track.
Yeah, unreal. All right, 5,000 metre. Albie Thomas in Sydney, 19th of December. What is it, 4 weeks? 4 weeks after your 3,000, 15, 20, 61.
Yeah, that's actually a really funny story about that one. So a week earlier, so 6 days earlier, I'd just been to Launceston, and I just ran a half marathon PB on that race, and I was out having a beer afterwards, and I saw that entries were going to close on the Monday for Albie Thomas, and I thought, I better, just before I forget, I'll enter the 5K just to do one last race while we've got races in 2020. And I entered, I think, the community race, because I thought there was just the Inside Running podcast and then the community race, and I was thinking I'm definitely not, like, I'm not sub 15, so I can't actually enter that one. But then enough people, I think, pulled out because of the Northern Beaches COVID cluster. Yep. So I entered and got put up into that Inside Running podcast race, and turned up on the day, and it's my luck. I've had such bad results over the 5K distance on that track in Bankstown, so it's always a thunderstorm when I race there. And I turn up, I'm warming up with Matt Cox, who's one of my training mates at Run Crew, and Aidan Hobbs. He was on the start line as well, I think from Queensland. And there's literally just 3 of us standing there. And I was thinking, oh no, this is going to be so embarrassing. But again, I was kind of like, I'm pretty shattered from this half, which I didn't really give enough credit how much a road half marathon can take out of you. But I knew my PB was so weak in the 5K that I should be able to run a PB. And I was like, just go out reasonably easy and you should be able to just evenly tick away. But then I went through way too quick with those guys, and then blew up pretty bad, which was expected if I was going to try and hang on to the likes of Aidan Hobbs and Matt Cox. But
yeah, what were they running? 68s or 70s or?
Yeah, I really can't remember now. I'm trying to forget it, because I remember standing at the start line and there was prize money for this, and I was thinking, this is going to be the first and probably the only prize money I'll ever win. And it was all I had to do was finish the race. And I remember getting to 2K and I thought, wow, I am feeling every step of Launceston half right now. But it was fun. It was fun to finish with another PB, even though it's not as quick as I'd like. Next to my name. But,
so what was the old PB?
I think it was 15:29. And then I had a really bad shocker out at Bankstown again. When I ran like 15:40, and I'd gone out in like, I think the first 200, I just rocketed out in like 32 seconds and had like 30 meters on the field. And that was a very embarrassing blow up. So the 5K is one of the harder events I've found. So
maybe post-marathon training, you'll probably go sub 15, I reckon. So
I've heard a lot of my mates that have done a few marathons, they're like, you get this surge of fitness after the marathon, which I'm probably more excited for that than completing the marathon distance.
As long as you're patient, you don't try and do it within a week of finishing the marathon. But and there your body gets strong again, and it's amazing what you get just from doing the longer Ks. I'm sure you're definitely going to find that out. All right, let's talk about that half marathon you did in Lorne the weekend before. You ran your PB 69:48. Well, that must have got you in the top 15 that time, or?
Yeah, I should know all my
Okay.
placings and things, but yeah, I'm not too sure what I came back. I turned up at that race. I'd had a pretty good taper, I think, but I knew deep down I really wanted to break 70 minutes, and I'm usually pretty self-conscious with my like what sort of form I'm in. I'd usually say like, hopefully I'll break 71 minutes, even though I might be fit enough to break like 70 minutes. So I went in and I was like, okay, just try and break 70 minutes. And then in my head on the day, I was like, I'm feeling pretty good. Maybe I could, if there's a group, maybe I could like go sub 69. And after 5K, I was running with this one guy and we were just ticking along. And then he sort of fell off and I was like, oh no, there's no one around, because it was a reasonably elite field up the front, like very elite up the front, and everyone was kind of spread out in that first top 10, top 20. So you couldn't really run with anyone if you fell off. So the next sort of 16 and a bit K after the 5K mark, I ran solo. So it was a bit of a mental grind, especially after so it was very flat. That course was insane. So 5K, you have like a little hill over this bridge, and then you just run along this highway out to about 13K, and you turn around.
Okay.
But the turnaround is up this huge hill. I remember I'd been there maybe a day before, but I hadn't looked at the course whatsoever, and I didn't realize that the turnaround was up this massive hill. So you go up, and like on Strava, I know it's social media, but it does not do it justice, because obviously you have like net gain in a kilometer when it has like plus or minus, and that hill took it completely out of me. And then you had a headwind from the bottom of that hill back to the finish line. So I was really like, I was probably running like 7 to 10 seconds per K slower on the return.
Yeah.
But it was quite cool. Up about a kilometer up the road, I could see Nick Earl, and I was like, oh, it'd be such good chat if I catch Nick Earl. But I didn't. He had enough in him to be a decent amount in front of me by the finish line. But I was pretty stoked. I was kind of relieved. I was kind of gutted. It was only 12 seconds under 70 minutes, but I was still stoked to be going back to Sydney with a sub 70.
Definitely. So, 69 looks a lot better, mate, for sure.
Yeah.
And were you running that opening half on feel? Were you running off your watch, or how were you sort of tackling that?
It's funny because like I stupidly look at my watch quite a bit when I run, and today I actually changed for this longer run. I changed the interface, so it was literally just lap time, and that's all I could see, rather than like pace and all of that. And it made such a difference. But yeah, like in that race, I just ran to feel. I had my watch going, but I think probably looked at it maybe 3 times, and majorly in the last 5K, because I was like, I was doing the math. I was like, today's not going to be a sub 70. But yeah, it was good when you get up. There's a little lip. I think with like 200 meters to go, you finished along this gravel path in front of you, run along this bank, and there's like this tiny little lip to get up onto it. And I was running so hard, I was worried I was going to trip over going up there. And I remember looking at my watch, and I'm like, I've got a minute to get to the end. And I got there in like 48 seconds. So I was pretty stoked with that. But it was quite weird. I've had very few races, like track races. I try to never wear a watch because they've got electronic timing. And I see so many guys in like race photos stopping their Garmin over the finish line, and I'm just like, come on, guys, like just run through the line in track races. Maybe in road races you can worry about your watch a bit more, but.
I saw you up at the Sun Run. What's 21st? Was it 2 weeks ago, maybe? The D Water Manly. You got second there behind your training partner, Matt Cox. That was a good run.
I didn't expect that. I was, I pretty much entered very late because I was initially going to do the 5,000 meter champs, the state champs that night. But then, I talked to Benny, and I was like, I really don't want to have like another 5K shocker, and I'd way rather do a road race now that I've like set the goal of doing a marathon this year. Pretty much entered, and I was, because I was super late to enter, I got put in like one of the further back groups, and I wasn't able to get like a seated start.
Okay. Yep.
But yeah, after like a couple hundred meters, I was pretty much with the front guys, and I was
Especially with that
running.
start up that hill.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There was a few people that went out a little too hard. I remember like there's a big downhill after that, but
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
couple of hills later in the course is what you've got to sort of prepare for. But I
Yeah.
had a good tussle with the guy that came third. I think his name's Owen. So we sort of
Owen
ran
Green.
together. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So we sort of ran neck and neck for a majority of it, and he sort of took off just before the last hill, maybe at like 8 kilometers, and it's quite a big hill, and you go up a few streets that you go around the corner and you go up another bit of the hill, and
Yeah.
then there's probably like 3 or 4 of those sort of
Yeah.
corners, and I was thinking in my head, oh, he's hurting just as much as you, just run as hard as you can up this hill, and I sort of broke him a little bit, and then I was thinking, oh, this is going to be a repeat of the year before or I can't remember if it was the year before because of COVID, maybe 2 years ago, when my old flatmate and workmate Liam Wilford, another Kiwi, he caught me at the top of the hill, and then he boosted past me, and we were sort of, I think we finished like maybe 7 seconds apart.
Yep.
But I was thinking in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, it's gonna happen again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was lucky enough to run hard enough to keep him off.
Yep.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
pretty. So I wore the year before I wore the Nike Vaporfly Next Percents, which are obviously insane. But then this year I wore a pair of the Saucony Endorphin Pros, and I really liked how the ground feel of those. They don't feel as foreign as the Vaporflies. You can sort of sink in the foam a bit more, and yeah, they were quite aggressive around the corners. Like you could sprint out of the corners a bit more because there's a few hairpins on that course. How did you find it?
Had a dodgy hammy, so I had to be careful I didn't blow up on going up that first hill. I thought my race could be over 300 metres in. But no, look, last time I ran it was 2015. So I was glad to get up there. I normally work Saturday mornings, and it's a bit Saturday morning race, so that's normally why I haven't done it. But due to COVID, like a racing, I thought, bugger it, I'm going to head up. I grew up there, actually, so I still got family and friends up there. So I thought, a good weekend, because I haven't been up there since October, especially with the northern beaches shut down.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought I'll head up there and do the run, and it was a good run. I mean, considering a couple of weeks before it was shut down, it was fantastic that they actually got the race up and going.
Yeah, that's it. Like
3,000 people, and
you just got to jump at every race you can get to.
Yeah,
these
you
days.
do, and it was
the way they're holding them is incredible. Like they had like stickers where everyone had to stand, so they're definitely doing well with the COVID measures.
Yeah,
so.
they pretty much have to make sure they tick all the boxes there. And that allows, us to have other races in the future, and, they can say, look, they got Sun Run right, so we can let them progress from there. But so there is, I guess, a bit of responsibility for the, race management and directors and organisers to get it right.
Yeah,
to tick all those boxes. But yeah, I thought it was a good run. We've actually had a lot of humidity here in Canberra, so normally when I go back home and race, is like, geez, it's humid. So luckily, I mean, it was a humid morning, but I've sort of been acclimatised to it because of the humidity we've had in Canberra, which I love the humidity, but it makes it a bit tougher on race day, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
It's a slight nor'easter blowing, which worked in our favour rather than southerly, because there's a couple of sections there would have been a bit nasty. But that roller coaster section through Harbour Shops took it out of me. I lost 30 seconds on that K, and I never got it back. And that final stretch, I was just looking for the finish line. I'm looking for that arch across the road. I thought, where is it? Because
that final mile,
it just took forever. I thought, you're kidding me, because I thought once I went over the bridge and past Queenscliff Surf Club, maybe 500 or 600 metres, and I looked down at my watch and I thought, oh no, I've still got a mile to go.
It's I quite like it though. Like, I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
Because it really, like, if it was a close race, it would really show who wants it more. Because I've really considered just stepping. I've never pulled out of a race, but I was considering it. I was like, if he passes me, if Owen passes me, like, good on him.
Yeah.
I don't have it in me today.
Yeah. I was a bit like that. I heard some guy. I got him at the top of those hills you were talking about, and I heard him coming for me down that finishing straight, and I thought he can have it because I just can't respond. You know what I mean? Give him a pat on the back, well done, mate, because I was just like, you're gone. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, it
yeah,
goes through every runner's mind.
yeah, for sure. All right, so you're talking about the marathon, the Goldie. Did you mention about a half as well before that, or?
Yeah, I've actually never been to Canberra, so
Oh,
I was
okay.
thinking over the next couple of weekends I might shoot down and do like a couple of long runs on the Sunday. So I
Yeah,
might actually be in touch for a run. But
yeah,
yeah, I think I might jump in the Canberra half. I should
sure.
probably enter that very soon, just
Mm.
as like a tune-up race. And
Yep.
yeah, I don't know. I haven't really looked at any other races leading up to Gold Coast, but
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I,
whether you venture down for it, but we have a half marathon here on March, must be 14.
okay.
4 weeks before Canberra Marathon, so a lot of us use that as a good hit out for the marathon. Um,
Yeah, okay.
but
Could be a good one to do as well. Yeah.
yeah, Western Creek Half Marathon. Quick Google, you'll find it. But yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, so the half at Canberra. And would you would you race that or use it as a training run? As
Oh,
in, you
yeah,
wouldn't
no,
back off your
definitely
load too
definitely
much.
race it. Nah. I'd
Okay.
race it in
Yep.
terms of tapering.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty used to like turning up like with a bit of lead in my legs.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, I kind of don't mind training right up until races
Yep.
because I haven't really had too many races recently during obviously because of COVID that
Mm.
I'd rather put like a good year's worth of
Sure.
mileage in,
Yep.
and then do a good marathon, then taper it every few minutes, like every couple of weeks
Yeah.
for
Yep.
a race. So
Yep.
I always make sure I hit 100K in a race week. Like if I had those sort
Yep.
of like 5,000 meter races or like
Yep.
Launceston and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know, I kind of don't like those weeks. Like I love racing, of course, but I really like doing my mileage and my routine each day, like
Yeah.
most days doubling and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
I'm the same. Maybe a lot of us are. We love to do our routine, and we've got certain numbers we want to hit. And
yeah,
when you
yeah,
race, you lose time coming in, and then you lose time coming out. So
yeah,
there's a fortnight where you've dropped, but obviously you get a lot of fitness and strength out of racing.
yeah,
And
yeah.
pretty much we train to race. We all love to race, but yeah, I'm the same as like, oh man, I'd love to just keep maintaining what I'm doing. So uh, you got to love putting the
And
bib on.
runners love like stats and doing their routines and things. So I don't know. I like seeing like a nice big week of training that I can look back on and think, okay, yeah, I'm ready. Like when it comes to race, I can
Yeah.
look back on my long runs or my workouts and think, okay, I'm ready. Try and convince myself that I'm ready. Yeah.
How did your body absorb, as obviously over the years the progression's been on, how's your body been absorbing it and how do you go about, knowing when to back off? Has that been a bit of a learning process for you? Have you had any injuries that have been a problem or?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, um, I'll tell you a bit about my last sort of year-ish. So, at the start of the pandemic, I was flatting with Benny and Katie, his fiance, who's another run crew coach, and one other guy that's not a runner, and Liam Wolford, another Kiwi. So he works at the running store as well. So he did Gold Coast Marathon last year and ran like 2:30. And he rang me one day at work and was like, "Hey mate, probably gonna go home because of the pandemic, like just as a precaution." This is when things were really kicking off, and
Mm,
just before New Zealand went into lockdown. So yeah, he pretty much like 2 days later just flew back to New Zealand, packed up and flew home. And it was such a weird time. Everyone was sort of like didn't know what was happening with jobs and things like that. So I, in the end, decided to do the same just as a measure. Like I shot back to New Zealand, but Liam had landed just before the lockdown, so he got to isolate at home. But I landed after 24 hours after the lockdown, so I went into an isolation hotel, um, or a quarantine hotel for 2 weeks, and then spent 2 weeks at my mum's house in Wanganui, and it was miserable. It was like 2 weeks of being in a thunderstorm. Like the weather was not nice, and I just really missed Sydney and the nice weather, like the humidity, and all the running locations from home in Lavender Bay. And I talked to my bosses at Pace, and they were under the pump. Like everyone was buying running shoes because gyms were closed and things like that. So I rang like Home Affairs here, and they were like, "Yeah, you can come back. Like you pretty much live here, so you've got all the documents and things." So I came back over to Australia like 4 weeks later and spent 2 weeks in a hotel here.
Wow.
It was a very stressful 6 weeks, and definitely interrupted my training. But this is something I definitely learned, I think, about my body, is that I was extremely frustrated being in a hotel room for 2 weeks, not being able to run. And I was getting a bit of a hard time on Strava because I was uploading these YouTube like Pilates workouts and things like that, just trying to stay sane in the room. But I think it was a blessing in disguise, because leading up to that, I was doing a few 100-mile weeks and absorbing them fine. And then, I took 2 weeks completely off running. And then I think it was like I got out on like a Saturday morning at like 1 a.m. or whatever it was, went for a 10K jog that day. And then on the Sunday did another 10K jog. And then every week since then, which is something like 41 weeks, I've averaged, I think, about 145K. So I still haven't had a day off. And that was sometime May last year at some point. And I think, I don't know how I've done it, but I think it's because I rotate my shoes so much. Like I've had a ridiculous amount of shoes. Yeah. It helps working in a shoe store. Like it's kind of dangerous because you're buying shoes all the time, but and I majorly do like 95% of my running, probably even more, on the road.
Okay.
And I'd say like solid mileage. So, and reasonably fast, I think. I don't know. I think I always get a hard time for my recovery runs being pretty fast. Yeah. And my long runs being reasonably fast.
Yeah. But if you're going off perception, like perception-wise, the easy runs, they do feel easy, or are you still trying to keep the pace up?
Yeah, no, I just I've never really listened to music until moving to Australia. Like when I run, and I quite like house music or like upbeat sort of electronic music. And I
suddenly you're doing sub 4 minute Ks. Yeah.
It's like, oh, oops, I'm running uphill at sub 4 pace. I should probably simmer down. Yeah. Maybe I should change my genre of music and maybe I'll recover a bit better.
SBS chill out's pretty good, mate.
Yeah. I've been pretty fortunate though in terms of injury wise. Had the odd niggle. Like I think a couple of years ago I had like a tight hip flexor a little bit, and I had a few days off. But in the last 40 odd weeks, my major injury was rolling my ankle. It was actually 10 days before the sun run. So I strike, like I'm quite a bad supinator, so I strike really laterally on my forefoot. So it's not the most shock absorbing way to strike. And I was kind of actually watching another runner. I was watching him run down the middle of the road, and he was like, not like a distance runner athlete. He was more of just like a gym sort of guy build. And I was like, oh, all right, he's got a good running style for like his size. And I was watching him, and I wasn't watching where I put my feet, and I rolled my ankle on a tree root coming through the pavement. And I remember I rolled over and just kept hobbling for like 50 meters. And I was so embarrassed because like all these people around and that runner had seen it. And I like sort of stumbled and kept running on it. And it got so swollen. And I love my long runs, and I never cut my long run short, but I had to cut my long run probably 30 minutes short because it was in that much pain. For like towing the line at Sunrun, I sort of had heaps of Panadol and Nurofen that morning, just sort of mask the pain a little bit. And I don't know, it's probably pretty dumb. Like my ankle's still kind of swollen a little bit, but the pain hasn't been there for weeks. So I actually had a little bit of an arch pain on the other foot, so I might have been compensating a bit. But I think like if I'd done any damage, it's done and potentially healed. So
Yep.
that's about as bad as it's got. So I've
Yeah.
been very lucky with, I don't know how I've managed running on the road so consistently for some big-ish weeks, like 100-mile, and then I think my biggest week was 190k a few weeks ago. So
Yep. Yeah, I mean, obviously we're all different, and some of us are a bit lucky with our biomechanics, the way we land and the way we load, and
exactly.
No, that's good. Considering like you said, so many kilometres on the road. With your shoe rotation, are you just trying to give the shoes a rest, or are you playing around with your heel to toe drops and stack heights and that, or is it just
I mean, as shoe tech is getting better, like it's kind of funny how in 2020 we had no races, but it's probably some of the coolest shoe tech we've ever seen come out. Like I remember when the Nova Blast model came out from Asics, I was frothing that shoe so much, and I've still got that in my rotation every now and then. And then the New Balance like 1080 V10, and then the 880, just some like real mellow daily trainers that they're like my workhorse shoes. And every now and then I'll treat myself to like my endorphin speeds on like an easy run, but usually I just wear them for my workouts and my long runs. But I've got a few pairs of those. Been wearing a lot of Saucony recently.
You find the speeds. I mean, today was the first time I've used the speeds in a long run tempo, and I was interested to see how it go. But they seem to hold up pretty well over the long runs, don't they? It's not necessarily just a tempo shoe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're extremely durable. That's one, like, I'm fortunate enough to be exposed to a bunch of different models throughout the year as they come through the running store. And I wore my first pair, the Mutant White colorway, the initial color drop. I wore them for, I think I'm about 10K short of 900K.
Wow. Okay.
And because I strike in probably one of the weaker parts of the shoe, like the lateral forefoot, that's why I generally go towards a cushioned, reasonably high stack at the forefoot.
Yeah.
I was just blown away. And then I've had a couple of pairs since. Yeah, they are seriously my favorite shoe of all time. The Vaporfly Next Percent's obviously unreal to race in when it's quite long stretches of road. But yeah, the Endorphin Pro obviously is just a speed with a stiffer plate in it. So it's quite nice around corners and things. So
I got the Pro about 6 months ago, and I've only done one run in it. I can't move away from the Next Percent at this stage. Every time I run on that shoe, generally, back in 19 when I was running well, it was just the PB shoe, and from 5 to marathon, it was just ridiculous. I'm sort of biased towards it. So I got the Pro because I heard so much about it, but I probably need to do some more runs in it to find it. But I guess when you're running the Vaporfly, you're just used to that really nice feel, and I guess I was disappointed I wasn't getting that. But I understand a lot of people say it's better for maybe half marathon and under. The way they've described it to me is they feel that once they get their speed up, just probably that rocker in it, they just seem to be able to hold their cadence up. It's sort of like it just keeps promoting them into that nice toe-off position.
For sure. It's funny how I don't even know if Saucony would have predicted that effectively their tempo workout shoe was going to be so much more popular than their plated version. And it's very similar to the Brooks range, like with the version 1 of the Hyperion Elite, when the foam came out in the Hyperion Tempo, and that was a better foam than they had in the Elite. Is again the same story, like the training version effectively was more popular. So, and we're seeing that with Nike as well. Like the Alpha Fly is obviously all of the unreal tech that Nike has all in one shoe, but I think the insane feel that you're describing in the Vaporfly Next Percent is kind of lost with the high stack in the Alpha Fly. So it's interesting to see a bunch of elites. Like a lot of the East African guys are still gravitating towards the Next Percent.
Exactly right.
As their race day shoe,
No, there's a lot of them going. They're still running those green and pink ones. So no one wants to move on to them. And I think, once you crank up the Ks on them, you can still use them as a training shoe. I don't know if you should run in them all the time. I love the feel of, putting it on race morning and just getting that, here we go type feel. So if you're training in it all the time, you'd probably lose that perception. But,
the special effect.
Yeah, exactly. We'll move on off shoes, but just one more thing I'd like to say is, the best thing about Nike bringing in that 4%, that next percent, and this technology in these in this foam midsoles and that is it just really got all the other shoe makers, a kick up the butt to catch up, because like you said, I'm just excited as you are and probably everyone else about the shoes that are hitting the market at the moment, and it's more than just hype. And we can feel how they perform, and more so with these rubbers, especially with the Vaporflies, how easy your legs pull up. Like the City to Surf last 2K, you destroy your legs on the downhill. Normally I don't walk for a week. Wear the Vaporflies and you're just out doing an easy run that afternoon, you know what I mean? So
that's exactly it.
So not only do they perform well, but it just seems to save the pins so much better. I guess that's the whole idea of it being a marathon shoe, that it saves your legs in that final 12K when things are normally starting to hurt. So good on Nike for doing that, and it was the race for Tokyo. Everyone trying to really to ramp up the technology and try to catch up, but now we know that they wasn't such a rush. But again, it's great what's coming out on the market. Not sure where they go from here, rather than just sort of gimmicky stuff. But
I think we might see, hopefully, with the athletics track regulations, with their, I think it's 25 millimeter heel stack height.
Yep.
I might be wrong there, but I think we'll probably see a resurgence of low stack models with the super foams in them. So your Nike Streaks or your Type A's from Saucony, but just with the super foams.
Yeah. I love the Type A. It's still in my rotation. It was my race shoe before the new one came along, and I just, every time I look around the start line, I thought, why am I the only one wearing these? Does no one know how good this shoe is? But I think you do feel the road, so I think it depends on how you land. You got to be pretty light on your feet to wear them, but okay, let's talk about your marathon prep, mate. So off to the goal. Obviously, you've ran, in my research there, I've seen you've ran a couple of halves up there. So stepping up. Well, actually, how old are you?
I'm 26.
26, right? Yeah. Yep. A young puppy, mate. So so the reason for stepping up to the marathon is just that you feel that you're ready to move on.
I think I know logically that the longer I run and bank up years of consistency before I do a marathon will be better. But I don't know, seeing guys like Brett Robinson and Jack Rayner at a reasonably young age doing incredible times, I was thinking, mate, especially with the shoe tech, and there's no reason why you can't just start it earlier rather than later in, I don't want to say career, but your running journey, I guess. Rather than just starting your marathon after your road, shorter distances and your track stuff. I was thinking, I don't really enjoy being so far back in the track stuff, but I love getting out really early in the morning, training and doing reasonable mileage for the marathon. So why not? I talked to Ben, and maybe a year ago, he was like, maybe just do some halves and tens, and then next year, which is this year, look at the marathon. So I was pretty excited when he said I could go towards that, because I have no time expectation except that my mate Willie, that he had done a 2:30, and I was thinking, that could be a good goal to try and go under 2:30 for my first one. But if that doesn't happen, I'm really out of the loop with pacing or how foreign it's going to feel after sort of 32K. This morning, I think I've only ever done 2 runs that are about 36K. But I was super stoked this morning to feel like I could have certainly run the marathon distance. I think the biggest thing for me is I do 0 strength work. I got a Strava memory. I think that it tells you what you did a year ago or something. And the last time, I think I posted my workout at the gym from May 2019. Everything happens in May by the sounds of it. But I haven't been to the gym since literally May 2 years ago. And I think that could be a big benefit and I've been told that by literally everyone, that I should start doing some strength. And also my nutrition. I think my nutrition is very bad in terms of probably underfueling quite a bit. A lot of coffee, but probably not enough food during the day before my double runs.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's what's exciting is you're going down a new pathway there, and there's going to be a
Yeah,
lot to learn, and you may get it right your first time, you may not, but that's what it's all about, and more than likely you've got plenty of marathons ahead of you. So yeah, like I said, it's a
yeah.
learning process, that's for sure. And
No,
if you
it's
go
definitely
into it
good.
with that relaxed approach, it's like some first one, I'm going to go out there and just see
Yeah.
what happens. That's not a bad idea. That's
And
for sure.
last year, like I've had a shocker. I think last year I went into the half marathon very cooked in terms of my easy days were a lot faster than what I'm running at the moment. Like
Mm,
I'd stupidly like on a Monday or a Wednesday be doing 4 minute Ks for my whatever run I had,
mm,
and I turned up like pretty knackered, and yeah, I had a dismal race, but the trip itself was insane. Like I stayed with Benny Saint in the elite accommodation, and I was sitting at the table one night with like Yuki Kawachi and Zane Robinson and Ryan Hall and Benny Saint, and I was just thinking, wow, how did this little kid from Wanganui be sitting with like
yeah,
the
yeah,
American record holder and Yuki and
yeah.
it was insane.
This
And
is up the
then
Goldie.
yeah, up at
Yeah,
Goldie. So
yeah, yeah,
even though I had a shocker, it
yeah,
was
yeah.
probably like one of the coolest running related experiences in my life for sure.
Definitely,
But
definitely.
that's like one of the cool things is what I've found is like all the guys and women that I've met over my 3 years here
Yep.
are so down to earth. Like all the elites are so down to
Yeah,
earth. Like
yeah,
we just go as like young fellas up to Falls Creek just to like froth over all the elites up there and just have fun for a couple of weeks training.
yep,
And
yep,
you can just rock up for a double run in the afternoon and be jogging with like Australian record holders and
yep.
like guys running at the Diamond Leagues. So
Yeah,
it's insane. Like I don't know if you can do that in any other country, but like the cool thing is everyone's super helpful if you want to reach out for advice on like Instagram or anything. Like
yeah,
today I was talking to Millie Clark about nutrition for the marathon and gels and things, and
yeah, yep.
it's just like yeah, world champs reps and things that you can just reach out to and they'll get back to you. It's insane.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, you probably say like a lot of sports, but yeah, runners fairly chilled out. And I always think
Yeah,
about the elite guys. I mean, like you say, they're always very chilled out and always keen to have a chat. And I think it's just when they're training hard, and they need to be able to switch off. And I think that shows in their personality as well. They just are pretty relaxed and chilled out because it's the way of shutting out the intensity of the training and the running.
yeah.
And I think it's unhealthy to live and breathe running all the time. You've got to have some sort of something else going on.
Oh, that's exactly it.
Yeah,
I can't imagine if you were so like single-minded, if you got a really debilitating injury, how much
it
that
would
would
suck.
suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with the marathon up there on the Gold, so have you entered or?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
So
Okay. It's a
I
6:30 start this year, isn't it? Too. They're starting a bit
yeah,
earlier.
that's actually one of the big reasons why I was like, this is the year. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
finally, because I
Yeah.
think it was quite an odd arrangement initially, because usually it's like the half marathons first,
Yeah.
and I think because there's a huge like Japanese viewing of it,
Right.
the time um the time difference meant like it's better for the marathon to be later. I don't know if I'm making that up.
Right.
But yeah, this year obviously it's a bit earlier, so
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been pretty like being from New Zealand, going up and racing there. Even
Yeah.
when I was at uni, like a
Yeah.
couple of my mates and we came across and did the half. Just very unfit. Oh, I was very unfit when I did that, but it's just like a trip away. But I remember it being so hot, and every year, even though it's winter, it's still very hot up there. So I'm stoked about that 6 a.m. start.
Uh,
I went to enter at 9 a.m. I was straight on there, like trying to enter, and then nothing popped up. So I checked Eastern Standard Time, and it's 10 a.m. in Sydney. So I was an hour early, so I was ready to hit the button straight away. But I got in, and I was so stoked. It was right at the start of my shift that day, and I was pretty stoked all day. I was even telling customers like, sorry if 10 a.m. comes, you're gonna have to give me 2 minutes just to enter this race.
Yeah. Yeah. I think because the half marathon, I'm pretty sure, used to be on the same day, and it used to start
Yeah.
early. But this year, the half marathon's on the Saturday.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I think they're running the 10 on the Sunday morning before the
Yeah.
marathon. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's going to be an awesome weekend. Like
Yep.
it's good fun. I know quite a few guys from Sydney going up to do that one.
Yeah, I think it's
And then
Australian Championships this year as well because
oh,
Sydney
awesome.
wasn't. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then if that goes pear-shaped, I've got hopefully Melbourne, like depending on how we all go, like all the states go with
Mm,
the pandemic, hopefully yeah, Melbourne's a backup if I have an absolute shocker in Goldie or don't finish or anything like that. But that's not going through my mind. I'm definitely going to try and finish strong in the Goldie. But
yeah,
yeah,
yep,
it's a couple months after, so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's
So,
I'll at least
so
do the half. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, for sure. So in your mind now, your focus is like, okay, I'm going to basically transition into a marathon runner. Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I've always been fascinated with like I don't know. It's funny, like your average person. It's like, oh, you're a runner. Oh, what's your marathon time? That's not the reason why I'm doing it, but
Yeah,
it's funny how that's how like society looks as runners.
yeah,
Like, oh, what's your marathon time? But yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with like what I've done over like the shorter stuff. I mean, they're very weak PBs compared to like 3K and 5K specialists. I'd love to like go well under 15 one day
yeah.
and like
I
well
think
under
you will. I
8:30.
think you definitely will. It's certainly what the way you're progressing in the other distances, and I don't know too many people. I don't ever know anyone that's come off marathon training, and then haven't gone back and gone quick at the shorter stuff. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think it'll definitely come for sure.
It's
It's
cool listening to guys like you've interviewed Miles down in Wollongong,
yep,
and
yep,
I've raced against guys like him
yep,
recently, and it's cool to hear him and his goals about going for like 220. Like that's
that's it.
pretty
Yeah,
motivating to eventually. I'd love in my lifetime to go like near 220 or under 220 just.
yeah,
That would
yeah.
be unreal.
Yeah, it's a pretty number 219, isn't it? Like I mean,
Yeah.
most of us won't get there, but yeah, look, it's and look the way you're going, why not? I mean, just get Goldie out of the way, and then you'll just find you'll just keep progressing from that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you want it, you'll probably get it, mate. So that's
Yeah,
it.
just keep putting the miles together, the weeks together,
Exactly,
and
that's all you can
enjoying
do,
it.
and keep
Yeah,
staying healthy, mate. And I mean, the Pace Athletic Store would be a fantastic place to walk in, considering the runners employed there. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, it's honestly Will and
was it
Stu,
owned
the
by
two
is it
owners.
owned by
Yeah.
runners? Like, what's the
No, actually, Will and Stu, they're not distance runners,
right?
but yeah, they know so much about running and
Yeah,
running shoes just
okay,
by
yeah,
being around it for years. I think it's 7 years old now.
yeah,
And there's 5 stores currently.
okay. What, as
But
in
yeah,
five in Sydney
in
or?
Sydney, yeah, just in Sydney
Wow,
currently.
okay, yeah,
Um, but yeah, like I'd say 90% of the staff are distance runners, and
mm,
a lot are in two running groups in Sydney. The Distance Collective, which
okay,
is coached by Michaela McDonald, who's a hoccer athlete and ultra trail runner,
okay,
and her partner Tim Locke. So yeah, a lot of staff are in that group, and then a lot are in run crew as well. So it's very. I think the benefit of going into a store that has distance runners is that they approach like customer service from like a runner's point of view rather than a retail point of view. So
yeah, sure,
you're not like trying to push shoes out the door. Essentially, you're getting like genuine advice, and you you're leaving with a suitable shoe rather than just buying it online and winging it sort of thing.
yeah, yeah,
It's such a fun job. Like
mm,
I love going to work each day
that's
and
it,
getting to talk about what we do and just like making people's day. And we work with a lot of podiatrists around Sydney. So you actually like a lot of the time you're not actually serving a lot of runners. People that are maybe wanting to start running or that they've seen a podiatrist because they've got some sort of problem and with their feet. And yeah, you're changing someone's like year by putting them in like a correct shoe. And it's yeah, it feels pretty good when you're getting someone out when they've been debilitated by like an injury or something like that. So
mm,
yeah, we get to work closely with some good podiatrists like Tom DeCano, and like he's himself is a very good distance runner. So no, it's good to know that like a lot of the people walking through the door are in good hands, or like
Yeah,
through the whole process.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hey, are you in the know with this Olympic qualifying for the elites that was going to be on in Sydney in April? Do you know anything about that? If that's not going to go ahead
Oh,
now, or
I've I've not heard any like hard
yeah,
facts on it. I've
uh,
just heard people talking about it, and
yeah.
like I think I saw Ed Goddard's Instagram last night, and in the video he posted, he was talking about him debuting at that event. So
Okay.
yeah, maybe the guys invited to do it have a bit more
Yeah, yeah,
like intel, I guess, on where it is and when it is and everything. So
yeah, yeah,
I'll
yeah.
certainly be going and watching. That'll be exciting.
Oh, it would. Yeah, April
Yeah.
18. Yeah, the week after Canberra. Yeah, probably. Yeah, actually, I'm in Sydney. I from Avalon, mate. So, grew up on the
Okay.
beaches
Yeah.
surfing and that. And I just, so this is, nothing to do with running, but the World Surfing Competition, that's on every year now. Normally they have the events in up on the Gold Coast and at Bells Beach over Easter and over at Margaret's, but they've changed the routine this year, and we're going to get an event back at Narrabeen Beach, like the good old days.
Oh,
And that's
nice.
actually on that weekend when I'll be
So
up in
are you
Sydney.
gonna be competing in that?
No, mate, no, I'm not a
No.
professional surfer, mate. I'll be down there with the
Oh,
kids.
there's no community surf event
Nah,
that you
nah,
can
nah, it's just the big dogs, mate. Yeah, yeah,
just the big dogs.
yeah. They will just be standing behind the fence trying to get a selfie, mate, with Kelly or someone.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, that's exciting. That they've actually got an event back at Narrabeen Beach after all these years and see the best
Oh,
surfers up
awesome.
there. So that'd be good. But no, I was just thinking, why did I bring that up? That's right, because I saw Liam Adams had a post, and it's I might be way off here, but he said something that he's been doing some huge training, as he
Oh
does,
my
gets himself
gosh,
fit,
yeah.
and there was
His mileage is
it's
insane.
huge. It was like mid 200s, and
Yeah.
but there was a comment there. I probably should have sent him a message. But anyway, he won't mind me talking about this. Is that he said he was preparing for a marathon in April, hoping to improve on
Oh,
his spot, even though he's got the top spot, but just still hoping to improve on it. But it's been cancelled. So I thought, geez, what would have been on in April besides that qualifier that Liam would have been thinking of doing? So that's why I just thought I'd ask you in case
yeah.
you'd heard something, but it may be nothing to do with
Yeah, I'm
that.
a little out of the loop on that,
Yeah, yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah, yeah,
What's the is it Lake Biwa that's been cancelled in Japan? Maybe that's one that I don't know what month of
yeah.
the year that is.
Normally BY is early February.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it,
Yeah,
it
I
may it
think
may have been.
it's
I didn't think he. I don't know. Would you go to
yeah,
Japan and do a marathon?
I saw something on Facebook, and I remember seeing Yuki Koichi was like
Yeah.
commenting saying like he's got it as well. So I don't know if
Oh,
it's yeah,
right. So it
if
might
it's
have been a
Biwa
Japanese race, another one. Maybe not
yeah,
BY, but maybe not one of the other
yeah.
ones. Okay.
Yeah, I've probably got my facts wrong, but
Yeah,
I
rightio.
think that there's definitely a Japanese race that's been cancelled. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe that's what it was. Maybe he was going to jump on a plane. But yeah, because I was a bit disappointed if Athletics Australia had cancelled that race, because yeah, it will be a great spectacle, and give those other athletes a chance to possibly get a singlet to Tokyo. So
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
it'd be exciting.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's unreal. Like Launceston was kind of like that. Like
yeah,
we hadn't had races for months,
yeah.
and
The
then
depth was
everyone sort of
huge,
just
wasn't
flew
it?
down.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was pretty
yeah,
exciting to be there
yeah.
amongst like the big dogs.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah, you got a bird's eye view there, mate. So
Yeah.
you're taking your camera photos as you're coming back the other way.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah. No, that'd be good. I was guessing where would they do it? I'm thinking maybe they do a loop course around, up there around Centennial Park or something like that would make sense,
yeah.
wouldn't it? But
Yeah, that's pretty flat. Or like we often have races out at the Olympic Park. Like
yeah,
there's
yeah.
the 10K
I guess it's where they can control it, and they'll have. Mm,
shutting roads and things as well that you've got a bit of admin there. So
But it's not far away, so hopefully they'll make something public
yeah,
soon. I guess they want to really make sure it's all going to go ahead and make some announcements. And I'm sure there's some guys out there who know more about it than us.
yeah, yeah.
But
I'd
yeah.
say definitely.
All right, Sam. Look, thanks so much, mate.
Yeah,
Appreciate giving you time, mate. You're probably
thanks
due
very
for a
much.
nano's nap like me. I know, 26-year-old, you're probably out playing, 18 holes of golf for Savo, if you weren't talking to me.
Nah, actually, I might have a snooze after this morning, or I might have second lunch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's more
exactly. Yeah,
food.
I'm getting the stomach grumbles myself, actually. I just focus on hydrating after those long runs. It's just like get the fluids in. Otherwise, I just feel like garbage if I don't hydrate after them.
Yeah, I just snack on, I just sip on Hydrolyte just
Yeah, okay.
casually when I'm
Yeah,
at work and just to stay hydrated. I just find like that's the biggest adaptation I've had to make is staying hydrated compared to being in Dunedin, where it was pretty much the 8 months of each uni year we were in a puffer vest or a puffer jacket and even sleeping in our puffer jacket. And
yeah,
now it's just like you're sweating perpetually up here.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's good
yeah,
though. It's there are
yeah,
some benefits you
you
get
get the
out of
heat
it.
gains over summer
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, like I said, I love it. Running marathons in it's a bit tougher, but yeah,
Yeah.
I love the sweat dripping off. It's great. Mate, all the best. I hope it continues the way it's been going, mate. And
Yeah, thanks very much.
if you come down here, I've got some army boots I can lend you, and I'll put my vapor flies on, and we'll go for a run,
Go
mate.
for a Sunday long run.
Exactly, mate. But yeah, I'll make sure I weigh you down, mate. Yeah, look, I'll continue following along. You mind if I just whack some social links over there in the description below? Maybe
Yeah, of
over to
course,
the
mate.
gram
Yeah,
and to Strava and that.
yeah, for sure. Sweet. Thanks very much, Essen, for asking me on, even though my PVs aren't as
It
elite as
doesn't
some of
matter,
the
mate.
past.
This podcast ain't rated on how fast you are, mate. So it's all good,
Oh,
Hopper.
that's good.
It was a
Thanks,
great
mate.
chat.
Take it easy.
All right, mate. Thanks, mate.